What is going on, guys? Welcome to the first episode of Apex Uncut. This is a podcast where we're going to go over anything and everything from the Apex Legends community. Today, we are joined by some incredible people. First, I have my co-host, Zach Mazur, a professional player in Apex Legends with over $60,000 in earnings. He's a pretty big deal. He's playing on C9 right now, second place ALGS. What's going on, man?
What up, dude? Just same shit, different day. Got some Chipotle and now ready to knock this out.
Hey, let's go. And then our incredible guest today, we have none other than Fallout. This guy, he's a beast. You killed the production in the ALGS. You're a commentator. You've done plenty of games in the past. You're even a pro gamer formerly. So how's it going, Fallout?
Going well, man. Pleasure. Honestly, it's just great to be alongside the GOAT himself, Zach Mazur, as well as TFG. I'm excited, man. We got to listen, before we even hit the record button, the vibes are definitely at an all-time high. It's going to be a great time, great conversations. Appreciate you guys inviting me for episode number 1. It's an honor.
Hey, dude, it's an honor to have you. We're super excited to be here with you today. And I just want to jump in straight into it. Let's learn a little bit about you, man. Like, what's your history? How'd you get into Apex Legends? How are you such an amazing broadcast talent? Like, you're just so good.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you. I still have a lot to learn always, every single day. But yeah, as you mentioned, I used to play video games professionally for Team Envy way back when. I played alongside Nick Merckx and High Distortion, a couple of those guys. Stopped competing because I went to college and got busy. And back then it wasn't necessarily esports wasn't as popping as it is now.
What year was that?
7-9 years ago. Yeah, 2011, 2012 time frame.
Okay,
so quite a few years before we had $1 million.
I was 11 years old. I don't even know how to play video games.
You're young, man. You don't look that young.
Oh my god. Damn.
I'm just get up and leave.
Damn. We just roasted me now. Shit. Okay.
All the way around, I feel like the old man is part of this equation. Zach, how old are you now? How old are you now?
I turned 21 in March.
Mind blowing, dude. That's crazy.
I was born in 2000.
Insane. Yes, I was 18, 19 years old competing, stopped competing, started shoutcasting, and back then it was just because next person up, we need someone who has a personality and who can talk, and it was just for fun. I didn't get paid to do it. And long story short, one thing led to another. Fortnite came out, started casting Fortnite, and then Apex came out, fell in love with the game. Played early on nonstop and just dreamed for an opportunity to cast Apex, really because I just wanted Apex to get the respect that it deserves as a top title, top esports title, and to help kind of grow the scene, tell the stories of these players like Zach. And since then, I've had a chance to cast just about every single ALGS and Apex event. It's been an amazing honor.
That's awesome, man. So you've been able to make a pretty good career out of casting and commentating, huh?
I have. Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's basically a full-time job, a full-time career. I also work full-time for Xbox and Microsoft, so I kind of do two things and manage back and forth. Yeah, not many people know that. I kind of balance both, but yeah, I could quit my job at Microsoft right now and do casting full-time, which is crazy. And I probably spend 30, 40 hours a week, casting or prepping for broadcasts and things like that. It's been amazing.
And on top of that, you work with Microsoft. I mean, you sound like a busy man, bro. Sheesh. Thanks for coming on board.
Of course. Always got to make time for you guys. This is awesome. I said, first episode, Apex Uncut. We need something like this in Apex. Let me be honest with y'all. We need a podcast like this to bring the entertainment, bring the storytelling, the hype. This is just awesome. I'm glad you guys are doing it.
Heck yeah. I mean, it really came out of nowhere, too. It was just an idea I had 3 days ago. And I was looking to do it with people.
I just made some shitty tweet, and you just hit me up.
That's what happened.
Actually, yeah.
Zach was tweeting about orgs.
Both you guys are sliding my DMs. I got a DM from TFG. I got a DM from Zach. I'm like, is this the same podcast? What's going on here?
Yeah, no, it was I just made some tweet about should orgs even get into Apex right now that there's not a lot of teams that have the big streamers anymore, or they're not as consistent. A lot of the teams that are at the top echelon are already picked up. So is it even worth for big orgs like 100 Thieves to get into the game right now? Super controversial tweet. And of course I'm going to hurt so many feelings in tweeting that. But I was just praying that the people that I was referring to would just be you know what? It's just, he's just looking for opinions on different things. Personally, I think the orgs should get in just to get involved. I do think Apex will take off. Maybe not in this next circuit. Keep in mind, I actually don't know anything about the upcoming circuit, so it could be this next circuit, but I'd imagine 2 circuits from now, it's going to be popping off, and getting in now will allow you to have a great team come then when you really want to have that money and that brand at the top. So I think they should get in, but a lot of people took that tweet as Zach doesn't think orgs should get in because everyone sucks now, and I was like, come on, bruh.
Are you kidding
Classic
me?
Twitter.
That drives me crazy when people like either get mad at you for making a hot take. It's like, look, it's just a discussion point for one. Two, stop assuming assumptions. But no, I think that's a good. I mean, I'm cool. TFG, if you're cool, that's a great place to start. Like, should orgs get in? And
Yeah, let's talk about orgs.
honestly, if you look at Kungarna's history, right? And not to make this about Kungarna necessarily, but I think it's a good example. The way you guys got into Fortnite was you picked up a couple of players with a couple hundred followers. Those players were some nobodies named Epic Whale and Unknown Army back in Fortnite. Now they're some of the biggest names in professional Fortnite. So easily someone could have said the same thing as when FaZe Clan and NRG and all these massive organizations in Fortnite were popping off and dominating and signed all the content creators and signed all the top players. And here we are 3 years later. So I'd love to get your take on that, TFG.
Yeah, well, I mean, the start of KNG really came out of nowhere. It wasn't even supposed to be an organization. I was just looking to make more money off of YouTube, right? And lucky enough, I recruited some of the best underrated and unknown players to ever touch a gaming controller or a PC, right? Like, they went on. Epic Whale got second place in the Fortnite World Cup. Like, that's just incredible. Unknown Army went on to be the greatest controller player of all time. And off of that, we were able to start this organization. And since then, we've just been expanding and expanding. And the reason we got into Apex Legends is because I know Graceful from competing together on an Overwatch team as pros on Splice back in like 2017. We lived in Boston together. And I just started playing Apex because I was bored. And I saw a Reddit post about him in G2. And I was like, wait a minute, Graceful? Wait a minute, he's one of the best? Oh, let me hit him up. And then boom, we signed him like a week later. And then I got in a call with Shaheen. He's the head of esports over at EA. And he kind of broke down what's coming up in the future for me. And I was like, okay, I definitely got to continue and sign a bunch of streamers and creators. And now, we have a bunch of amazing people on our organization. So in order to, get to this level, you got to be committed to the scene, right? And for these orgs that want to come in, they got to come in and they got to want to be a part of it, right? That's what I think about it, at least. If you want to be in Apex or any other game,
right?
Yeah,
the games look for that. Like Shaheen, like the game wants you to like invest and like be fully committed to the game. They don't want you like halfway dipping only 1 foot in type deal. Mm-hmm. They want to give you what you put in, right? And you're going all in. You're doing the right thing. Absolutely. For sure.
Yeah,
and the fact that you guys sign a North American team and basically repeat the same exact thing that happened at the World Cup, you guys win the North American Championships. Congrats to Kagard.
Well, what can I say? I got an eye for talent. I don't know.
Yeah, that just stinks. Just
sorry, Zach. Listen, you guys had the most points from Rob. Which, by the way, at some point we got to talk about match point format. Zach, I'm just going to get your take, but no, I think. Just to kind of wrap up that conversation, or at least just plus one that conversation. Yeah, the wholehearted answer is yes. I think org should be getting into Apex now because we don't know necessarily if the top teams, top players now are going to be the top teams and top players in a year and 2 years. Don't get me wrong. I love where we're at right now, especially North America with C9, TSM, NRG. There's great storylines, but I think the future is bright. I think Apex is just going to continue to grow, and I think orgs want to get involved now for sure.
Heck yeah. And real quick before we wrap up that topic, I know a lot of the discussions about like 100 Thieves or a FaZe Clan coming in. We don't necessarily need them to come in. It'd be great if they did, but even if it's some mid-tier orgs, some other orgs like Kungarna, any orgs coming in, swooping up those teams who do have a chance to get top 10, that'll really help the scene out more, So I would love to see anybody hop in, whatever org it is.
Yeah, and completely agree with that comment. I think the more organizations, the more opportunities, even amateur teams or lesser known teams, even if it's a small salary or a stipend or whatever it is, the more opportunities they have to compete, I think the better. But then if you also look, I'm going to flip it back to the other side of the coin, the impact like on 100 Thieves would have, a FaZe Clan would have on Apex to help bring new eyeballs in. I mean, it would just be astronomical. As we've seen so much growth already in the last 6 to 8 months in Apex. I can't even imagine if we have kind of content creation machines like some of those orgs. I mean, Zach, I don't know, what are your thoughts?
It's an impossible argument for someone like me, right? Because, like, no offense, but at the end of the day, you can say whatever you want here, and like it kind of is no big deal. Like TFG can say whatever he wants here, kind of is no big deal. Whatever I say right here, it will get like dragged into group chats or personal DMs or whatever, right? Like just between me and other pro players. So I don't mind being honest, and dude, don't hate me for being honest if you're watching this and you're a pro player and this affects you. But like I really don't see 100 Thieves or like FaZe getting in the comp side. I think there are a vast amount of really talented content creators in the Apex scene that are unsigned. That's just unbelievable. And I think the reason they haven't gotten picked up is because one, orgs either already have the content creators they have, like NRG, they don't need more necessarily, right? Or the org just doesn't have the money. Like, no offense, but like picking up Timmy, man, that's not cheap as a content creator. You know, picking up
No.
Wig, there's money there. Picking up Daltouche, there's money there. Now Daltouche is signed, so that's a bad example, but you get the point. Now, on the flip side of it, it's like you're picking up Timmy, he gets all these numbers, it's really great. So you would love to see 100 Thieves Timmy type deal, FaZe Timmy type deal. However, competitive is different, right? When you sign a 100 Thieves comp team, you want to see them win if you're 100 Thieves. You sign a FaZe comp team, you want to see them win.
Yeah.
We're talking top tier orgs. And right now, there's just no top tier teams to get. There's barely any mid tier teams, in my opinion, to get. My honest opinion, if 100 Thieves and FaZe want to get in the game, they just need to go buy out a team. There's like 100 Thieves is a way bigger org than CLG. I love CLG. I like the people on CLG. I've talked to them before. Great people. But 100 Thieves probably can offer things that CLG can't. And CLG is a good enough team where if 100 Thieves bought that roster out, that's definitely something that like they can work with. However, 100 Thieves going and picking up like, I don't want to say names or anything, but a mid-tier roster who's going to consistently make finals but not place ever in the top 5, it's just like, it's hard to convince myself as a competitor that that's a smart decision for the org, you know? So I don't blame them for not getting in.
Well, you're right for the most part there. You know, 100 Thieves and FaZe Clan, it's not likely they're going to jump into Apex anytime soon. They're waiting. They're waiting for what happens next, right? And when that's on the horizon, when that time comes, there will be the next up-and-coming team, right? There's going to be that team that is now good, like the Aim Assist or whoever, you know, was just recently gaining steam, right? And that's who 100 Thieves or FaZe Clan will sign.
Interesting. Yeah, that's exactly what you guys did. You know, KNG, obviously you guys picked up, I think, a variety of people weeks before they qualified for World Cup, and then a week or two after you sign them, they qualify for World Cup. They end up getting second, third place at World Cup. I think that's a really good point. We do have to see what's coming next with the ALGS. Yeah. I'm excited to see what's coming next, and yeah, I think it's going to be something great, you know, just to build off from ALGS championships. But you got to wait for the talent to develop. That's true. And Zach, to your point, I mean, that's a hot take. You know, you're basically saying all your mid-tier teams are trash, but honestly, look at the results.
Well, that's the thing. Is like, no. Pause there. You're right. I do think they're trash. However, if you're a trash team, you need to have the ability to become a god tier team, right? Yeah. And sometimes you need a roster changes for that. Sometimes you just need a coach. Sometimes you just need someone to kick your teammates' ass and your ass to get on and fucking practice 8 hours a day. Sometimes that's literally all it takes to go from like a mid-tier trash team to like one of the best. Sometimes it's worth it. It can be those small things, right? But like, I don't see 100 Thieves or FaZe picking up one of these trash teams and putting in that amount of resources to turn them into a god tier team. I can see those orgs picking up a good team and then putting in the resources to make them even better. But I'm struggling to see a great org put the money into the game to pick up a mid-tier team and then be like, yeah, here's all these resources. We're talking like from physical therapy to the whole 9 yards. I just don't see it happening. And that's why I don't think that's why because like for us, I think we were, just being honest, like the C9 roster, like when we were KSZ, like pre-signed, I thought we were pretty mid-tier. Like definitely a higher mid-tier, but we were definitely not like a god tier top team. We were no TSM.
Fair. At least you call the mid-tier teams trash, but then you call yourself a mid-tier team right after that.
At the time, we were a mid-tier team for sure, but we were a little bit better than the average mid-tier team because we had one.
And then you guys
we're consistently
second place at the ALGS.
Exactly. But
pretty good. I'm noticing history could repeat itself. I mean, you're right. I mean, if you look at the top 8 from NA champs, the top 8 teams were all signed teams, all the way down to I think like Alpine and Sentinels, who got 6th or 7th or 8th place. Yeah. It wasn't until I think 9th or 10th place he had a team that wasn't signed. I think Letter E actually did a great job popping off and nowhere. So, yep.
But then there's the flip side of that. If you're gonna fight that war, you got to play devil's advocate. I think someone like brought it up on my tweet or something, and this is why I remember it. But oh crap, I'm kind of losing it. Oh no, I'm losing my mind. Oh man. Oh no, I just had it.
Is it you sign a team at a low rate and then they perform?
Oh yeah, no. It's like the idea of a gold mine. It's the idea of like a gold mine. So like, Congarnet is a great example in the Apex scene. They picked up a team that had never placed top 5 before, and then they come into the championship and fucking win it. The biggest tournament in the history of the game, and a team that has never placed bottom like top 5 takes it.
Well, to be fair, they did place top 5 in the Carnage Cup right before the finals. And just a little bit to talk about our team, right? And this goes to your point earlier when you mentioned like who's going to get these guys out and kick them in the ass to play 8 hours a day and grind, right?
Yeah, you got to
Well,
motivate
the
them.
situation with mid-tier Apex teams is they can't play this game full time. They all have jobs. They all go to school. They all do this. They all do that for the most part, right? There might be some here and there, but for bottom 20, these guys all had something going on. But at the beginning of May, they knew they were in the ALGS. They knew they had a massive opportunity here, and this is what they told me on call when I first talked to them about potentially signing them to our organization. They said, we dropped everything at the start of May because we know if we want a chance to win this thing and become a top team in this game, it takes dedication. It takes time. We have to put everything into it. And once I heard that, I was like, these are the guys. Yeah, they dropped everything.
I bring that up in the interview, right? I didn't even know that story. I was like trying to.
There's so much, man.
That's insane.
And a perfect example of that is your player. I think I don't want to mispronounce, but Scurry. Scurry's a dope dude, but like Scurry has made it very known that like he really needed this money.
Oh yeah,
like for life. Like life is not cheap, man, and Apex scene is
every single one of them needed this money without a doubt.
It's a big deal, but see, like those players in specific, TFG took advantage of the opportunity, right?
Mm-hmm.
You make it to the biggest tournament of the year. You want to qual. You have an opportunity to literally change your life. Fuck taxes, by the way. Anyway.
Yeah. Facts.
And like everyone's different, right? Everyone's gonna have a different work ethic off the bat. That's just kind of like growing up, who you develop into the person you are. But like some people, like Scurry, Amu, Lion, like your team, your players, they had the ability to see this opportunity and seize it and work really hard in the scrims and work hard and put in the 8 hours, 12 hours, 16-hour days leading up into the event. Where some players are getting this opportunity, they're half-assing both, and then they have a mediocre performance, and then they're bummed out they didn't seize it, you know? And
100%.
it's that shitty mid-ground where I don't give any player in the Apex scene the excuse about the whole like money thing or I work a full-time job and I didn't make it, because this is literally like my first FPS like ever. I've only been playing PC games for like 4 years, 5 years, and like 3 years now competitively. Like what I played before this was like Fortnite and Call of Duty, like just for fun. I was dog shit. Like I was like everyday casual gamer. So like, in my opinion, like money or not, you have no excuse if this is something you want to do to like put in like 6 months. Like go work Subway or some shit. Find a way to make ends meet for 6 months. Give yourself 6 months, because majority of the time that's all it takes if you're actually willing to work harder than everyone else in the scene to make it. And that's why I really have a struggle like giving those players.
Well, you're 100% right. There's definitely some players on those teams who, you know, are like, I could maybe be the best player, but I'm just living my life. It's whatever, you know, I'm hanging out. You know, you need to have that killer instinct, that mentality. You want to be a champion, right? And our guys did have that. That's why the reason I signed them.
They fucking pulled it off. They fucking did it, man.
They sure did.
They quit everything to go all in.
If you're watching this, bro, fuck you. But good
Hey,
job.
he'll be here at my house in like 3 hours.
Oh
and I'll say it for him.
Way,
fuck
that's
you.
A great segue. Like we got to talk about it to match point format, because like I said, Zach, I want to get your. I mean, there's been a lot of back and forth and conversation, but I haven't had a chance to get an official take, you know, from a player. So Zach, your thoughts on match point format, man? Do you think it's the truth?
It's never going anywhere. It's never going anywhere. For those of you that don't know, listen to the podcast, or if you guys don't know it, they literally went out of their way. There was a very public thing. It was a very big deal that they patented match point format. So, God, dude, I'm a 21-year-old kid who plays video games and used to just only do sports. So I'm not the smartest. So someone correct me if I'm wrong. But the way that works is like no one else can run these match point style format tournaments because they like patented it, right? Or they have to get like approval.
Yeah, I don't know if that's confirmed yet. I think there might be a lot of misconception around that. And granted, I didn't read into the details of the patent, but there's a chance that what they patented was in-game technology to run. If I remember correctly, reading some of the patent, they patented in-game technology to be able to execute a match point format in-game, which means maybe they're working on like a development system, kind of like Fortnite has, where you get in-game points. I don't know that for sure, but when I skimmed through the patent,
that'd be cool. They do need an in-game interface.
Like, to patent a format to a video game. I mean, maybe because it's unique IP and technology is like different. That's like saying I'm patenting the game of football and no one else can play football but the NFL.
Right.
Like, you can't really do that. I don't
know. That's why I went on the whole segment of like, I might not be understanding this fully. Because like in my head, I was like, there's just no way that they were able to just take a format and say, fuck you, everyone else, right?
Yeah, maybe exactly. They did. I don't know the details.
But I don't know either. But long story short, it's not good. It's not good for competitive. It's absolutely amazing for the growth of Apex. Now, a lot of pro players will disagree with me on this one. I would like to just throw my neck out there and say I'm like definitely one of very few that will agree with what I say right here. I would rather do match format than a normal style strictly because of the growth of Apex. I see myself as an individual, as a content creator, and a pro player, and a personality in the Apex scene, growing 10 times further and creating a lengthier career for myself with the way that match point format is going to grow Apex as a whole than if I had the normal style tournaments and I just went and made a bunch of money because I'm better than a lot of the other teams, right?
Fucking man, brother.
So I'm okay with match point format.
That one.
Just that.
Honestly,
100%.
But the format itself is absolutely dog. It leans towards the teams that like aren't doing the best. Like being one of the first 2-3 teams to qual makes your tournament 10 times harder because now the pressure's on. Like the hard part has just begun, right?
Yep.
If you qual on game 7, game 8, you already know there's only 1 or 2 games left. You have very little pressure. It's like, oh, let's go play our hearts out this next game, and we got it. If you qual on game 4, we in like 5, like we did, like there's like 5 more games of this, and every game you have the ability to end it. There's so much pressure on you. You're constantly getting targeted because the end game system sucks. So like, if you won the game before and you get match point, you're gonna show up as the champion loading into the next game, right? So you can't even change your skins and hope people don't recognize you because you're gonna have a huge banner everywhere with your skins. So like,
and
that brings up a whole nother point.
I'm glad you bring that up because you're right. Like, look, a couple of things just to unpack what you just said. It's a pros cons exercise. Like, do the pros outweigh the cons? Absolutely, yes, they do. And I'm glad you agree with that. I agree with that. And there's a couple of pro players who don't. But for the growth of the game, for the hype, for the entertainment, for the excitement, I think it's worth it. But I do agree there's some competitive integrity issues. I don't think the competitive integrity issues are quote unquote dog shit. I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. I do think there are issues though, like you said. When match point format was created, I don't think they realized, one, that teams are going to have set drop spot. It was way before, competitive Apex officially became a thing. So the fact that teams have set drop spots and everyone knows where a team drops and can automatically grief them or know where they're going to be rotating to and can find them, that's partially an issue. But then there's also in-game things like the banners piece. Obviously, the fact that you can't enable streamer mode, so people see you in the kill feed and they're going to grief you. That's fixable in my eyes. Like, they can implement things in-game to help fix that stuff.
However, this is where I feel you go wrong. Is right, like you said, it's not great. It can be fixed, and hopefully it will get fixed. But until then, it's dog shit. Right? Right now, there's I work with EA. I like to work with EA. I like to do everything sponsored I possibly can. But another reason I think they like me is because I'm like honest. Like I talk a lot of shit on the game, but I do give the game a lot of praise, and I do support every aspect of it that I truly believe in, right?
I mean, talk shit is constructive. That's the most important thing.
Yeah. It's like,
yeah.
It's like right now it's absolute dog shit for those reasons. Like, I mean, seriously, if they went right now and found a way so that we could wear skins in game that we could see on our own for our own teammates, right? But everyone else in the lobby is on original skins so that everyone doesn't have to play original skins. Because they could just go make a ruling and be like, everyone has to play original skins. I don't like that idea. I don't like that idea. But if they were able to make it so kill feed was hidden, kill feed was completely hidden.
No champion banner.
Yeah, no champion banner. And then they made it so everyone was on original skins to like the outside POV, it would be, listen to me, man. Listen to me. The next match point tournament would be a whole different fucking tournament. Yeah. It would be a completely different vibe, a whole new world. And maybe they won't do that on purpose.
Yeah, TFG, I'd like to get your take. Coming from relative, you've been playing Apex for a little while now, but you guys just came in from the outside from Fortnite. Fortnite obviously doesn't have anything like a match point format. What are your thoughts?
I mean, so EMEA was the first match point final I ever seen, right? And then it was all right. It was cool. It was fun to watch. But then watching NA was the craziest fucking esport I've ever experienced. I mean, I went to the World Cup live, man. I was there in the stadium, and I had 14 players under my banner competing for $3 million, Like, the prize pool was 10 times what, it was in NA. But there was nothing like watching that tournament, dude. Especially when my team hit match point, and especially when they're, like, top 5. And, like, I'm sitting there, holy fuck, they can win by just winning the game. Like, just clutch up. It's so epic to see. It's like putting a basketball in Michael Jordan's hand and saying, hit the fucking shot. Hit it, right? And he fucking hits it. It's truly incredible. It was so fun to watch. Apex has something going right. in terms of a spectator viewer
You're
point.
saying watching ALGS NA championships online was a better experience than the World Cup. It was that much more hype and exciting.
Oh, yes. 100%. Because we were talking before we got on here.
That's powerful, brother. That's why the pros outweigh the cons.
Listen, I'm going to just play a quick devil's advocate because Twitch chat is going to say the same shit. You'd be like, it's because his team won. If his team plays 20th, it wouldn't have been as hype, right? And there's probably some truth to that. But I really do think that the match point format is 10 times more hype than the Fortnite World Cup format. I watched it online. I wasn't there in person. And I do think watching this style where anyone can take it, whether you're rooting for them or it's your second favorite or 10th favorite team, you hate to see one team win. You love to see the other team win. They're both in the end game. You're going to be way more involved than you will, watching Bugga just fucking close it out because he's the best.
Take out the equation of my team winning, and I think it was Game 9. Look at Game 8, that moment where it's you, TSM, and Sentinels, and everybody is like, it's over. It's over. The Sentinels ain't going to win this, right?
Fuck.
Listen, and then Sentinels pulls that off. No matter who you are, no matter what team you're rooting for.
That game, there was no clear advantage for Sentinels, but you did it.
You did it. But no, listen, that moment right there, no matter who you're cheering for, even if you're a huge Cloud9 fan, seeing Sentinels win and extend the tournament is just like, what the hell am I watching? This is crazy.
Not only the tournament, but also secure themselves match point to give themselves a chance.
Now they have the chance.
They control their own fate. Bro, there's so many things that would get added to that
it's pros. So deep.
Don't get me wrong. It's a pros. There's a pros cons. There are some cons, and competitive integrity, I will agree, is one of them. But the pros undoubtedly outweigh the cons. And your devil's advocate argument about him being biased because his team won. Caster here has to be unbiased, professionally paid to be unbiased. Match point format is the shit. I'm sorry. At the end of the day,
and listen,
it is the shit.
I'm definitely not biased. One of my players in the Fortnite World Cup won like $800,000. So we ain't biased.
Fuck, touche.
It's just better, bro. It really is. That shit was crazy.
I don't know.
I hear your opinion though. I'm glad I got your perspective. So, Zach, do most pro players share your opinion? I'm guessing as well.
Most pro players would just rather us play like a 2-day finals where it's like 6 games, 5 games, or each day type deal where we play like 10 games, 12 games, 16 games total.
Yeah.
And it's over 2 days because that rewards the most consistent and in
kind of like the group stage,
the best
right?
team in the world.
Group stages are kind of dope for that reason.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that no offense to how you place. No offense to how you placed. I'll bring it up right now just to double check.
Yeah.
But I mean, you go look at the group stage. Here, I'll share my screen.
Oh, you're saying that bottom 20 or Congarna didn't place well in groups, but they won.
No, it has nothing to do with Congarna. Like,
we did decent in groups. I think we finished in 7th.
There's nothing to do, but if you here, I'll share my screen to you two. You might want to bring this up when we make the YouTube video, but so you can see this, right? So like this was all the games, right? And like, and whether you like, for example, like day 1. My team had 13 points in 6 games. We were 38th to 40th. We were arguably the worst team that played day 1 quals. A lot of people said we weren't even going to make it. And we were one of the most consistent teams and ended up finishing 10th and got 1 seeding point, right? And then like bottom 20, 7th. It's like, look at the point differential though. Look at the point differential between this team, all the way to 5th place. 50 points, right? And then from 5th place to 10th place. Yeah. Like 30 points. Like this right here, this format right here is really proving like who the best is, right? This is proving who the best is, the most consistent, the most dominant team in North America, I think, is coming out of this better than those.
And that's okay, but here's why here's why you're wrong. I think the format is great as it is. Because that's true. But then what happens to NRG in the grand finals? They don't show up.
They get shit on.
Play top 5, top 7. I don't think.
Yeah, they got 10th. They got 10th.
So that's the reality is like, look, that's sports. You said you're a sports guy, Zach. Like you could dominate the regular season. The Bucks, #1 seed in the NBA last year, come into the playoffs, choke to the Miami Heat, who's a later seed. They don't perform when it matters the most in the playoffs. And then, or you play well in the playoffs, you make it to the grand finals and you choke. It's the same thing. Like you have ALGS online tournaments, spring circuit, summer circuit, so on and so forth. Then you have groups, and then you have the grand finals, and you got to show up at every single stage.
But the Bucks didn't choke because someone on the Heat hit a fucking 100-meter shot, and that's a game ender in the rules of basketball. They choked because they were less consistent and played poorly, right? That's why, right? And that's the idea of match point. Is like it isn't the more consistent team. It isn't the better team. It's the team that hits that 100-meter shot once they've finally made it there. Now, whether it's on game 5, right? Imagine if TSM ended that tournament on game 5. It'd have been like, holy fuck, this is the best team in the world, right?
Yeah.
But if a team quals on game 8, ends the tournament on game 9, it's just like, the fuck just happened? Now, listen, here's the different side of it. If you're like second place, third place, you want this thing to end, bro. You're like, I'm in the top. I don't want anyone dropping like a 27-point game. Like, just end this shit. That was probably the happiest second place I've ever gotten in my whole life.
Well, I totally get where you're coming from, because bottom 20, the first like 5 games, we were literally in second place almost the entire time. And I was sitting there with my guy saying, bro, if TSM wins the next game, not even mad. Like, literally not mad. But then game 7 came, and we're like, oh shit. We went from second the entire tournament. All of a sudden, we're sitting in like 6th and 7th. And I'm like, oh man, this sucks.
That data point right there is another great data point of why it's not a 100-meter shot that you're hitting.
Yeah.
Garno was in top 2 the entire finals, and they won the tournament. Like, they deserved to win the tournament. They showed up the most the day of.
They did it.
They performed. They closed out the last game. They got one of the first teams to get to match point. Like, look, I get why pro players are salty. I would be too, likely if I was in that scenario. But as an unbiased commentator, and again, as someone who can look at the entertainment value, the growth of the esport, competitive integrity, because I played professionally, I know what it's like to be in your shoes. All things considered, it awards the best teams. You have to hit match point. You have to hit 50. You have to perform to do that. You have to play consistent across every game.
It's hard to win a game as is.
It's like, exactly. And
there's a lot that goes into it.
So I disagree with your 100-meter analogy, because it's not like hitting a 100-meter shot. It's not like having one pop-off game. If it was like, okay, match point is, if whoever gets one game with 80 points wins automatically or something ridiculous like that, which wouldn't happen, then I'd say, yes, I agree. But you have to have the pop-off game to get to 50, and then you have to win. I mean, everyone knows the rules. It's fair across the board. It's black and white in my eyes.
Yeah, definitely lacking some competitive integrity and some consistency.
Yeah, the targeting thing is not good.
Yeah. This might sound stupid, and I think it's because I haven't talked to any other pro players about this, but I'd like to see like a minimum game amount. Like, I'd like to see it possible so that like tournament can't end on game 4, can't end on game 5, possible to end on game 6 through whatever, right? Because so much of that just seems like so fluky to me and so unrealistic, but it's unfortunately possible. In the instance where that does happen, it would be like the most underwhelming esport championship ever. Imagine that was our big LAN, where it was actually like a $3 million LAN, and that shit ended on game 5. That'd have been the most. The Score Esports would have made a video on the most underwhelming championship in the history of esports ever.
Well, when I came to Apex and I saw the format, I was like, this is interesting. 50 points seems a little low, though. So I was thinking, maybe 75 would be better. But, after watching the event, 50 isn't that bad. But like you said,
I feel you there, and I agree with that. And that's yet another reason why match points actually overall net benefit, because that scenario you laid out is kind of what happened at World Cup. Like, Fortnite World Cup, $30 million tournament, $100 million season. Everyone shows up. Bugha blows away everyone else in the lead, was up by like 50 points. Going into game 6, everyone knew that Bugha was going to win. It was like, period. Game over. Like, this guy's going to win. It was the most anticlimactic game 6 ever. It's like, why are we even watching it?
Yeah. Like, so, why I play out game 6 is under here.
Exactly. So match point, again, that's based on the same argument you just made. That's another reason why it's so special, because you never know who's going to win. And actually, the reason I bring up that example specifically is, I talk about it often. People joke all the time about how much I give praise to this guy, but John Nelson, who's the commissioner of ALGS, the guy's a genius. Like, when we get to LAN again, Zach, sit down and have a 45-minute conversation with him. Your mind will be blown. The amount of insights, the amount of knowledge he has about competitive integrity and esports, it is out of this world. He's the guy that comes up with all these different formats alongside the rest of the team, Ghostiami and everyone else. But that was his reason for creating Match Point, was because of that exact scenario where, like, it's the most anticlimactic thing. Once I heard him explain that mentality, it's like, okay, now it makes sense. Now I get it.
No, I'm all for the match point. I think it's good for the game. I think it'll be long-term good for all of us. They just, that competitive integrity shit is just so piss poor that, like, we gotta work on that. It's not even like it completely ruins it. It'd be like, it's like the rank split when we're constantly getting DDoSed or running in cheaters. It's like, it's great. The game's great. The weapon meta is the best it's ever been. You can play like 70% of the legends and get away with it right now because the meta's in a great spot. But none of that matters because I can't go play the fucking game. And it's like the same thing. It's like all those things about Match Point are amazing, but we need to make sure it's a fair and fun environment for the competitors and the viewers right now. And we're only getting one or the other.
100%. I think we
probably
can
go
all
on to
agree on that.
Let's
And,
go. Let's go next topic.
I was going to
before
say
John
that was
comes
a
and
perfect
takes my ass
segue into
out.
the next one. You mentioned it there too. DDoSing and competitive integrity, right? That's a big thing here in Apex. I know I'm a little new to the scene. I haven't been here for all of it, so I think you two can kind of talk about that more.
Follow, you play any ranked?
Zach, you go first.
You play ranked Fallout?
Yeah, I play ranked.
You fuck around a lot?
I play a good amount. Again, between working the two jobs, I can't grind ranked like you guys do. No way I'm grinding first to pred. But I play a good amount of ranked. Yeah, it is rough. Zach, you give a quick intro. You kind of did a little bit, but for those that aren't aware of the situation, what's the reality like for streamers and people like you playing at the level you play at?
So, just to give you guys the rundown, it's like right now in ranked there is a crazy cheater problem. We'll start there. We'll move on to the DDoSing situation a little bit. The cheater problem is ridiculous. It's to the point where Apex has a thing called easy anti-cheat. That's like the Valve or whatever anti-cheat system for CS. It's just like their default.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's just the default anti-cheat. I need you guys to understand the default anti-cheat, which is supposed to just automatically ban blatant cheaters. I'm convinced with the rest of the entire scene, it is actually turned off. Like you have a light switch off on. We are convinced it's actually just off. Because right now in Apex, we have cheaters that are literally changing the actual game mechanics. They are able to just literally float in the air on zip lines. They are able to shoot guns at a higher fire rate than the gun's programmed fire rate. Like they are literally changing the entirety of the game and not getting pulled out by the anti-cheat system. So first off, let's put that in stone. The easy anti-cheat system for Apex is just completely turned off. They shut it down, right? Once Respawn or whoever, I don't want to put titles or names on it because if I'm wrong, I don't want someone to hate me, right? Once they finally realized how bad it was, they went and got a guy named Hideouts, right? And Hideouts is the individual who was supposed to ban literally every cheater, DDoS, or anyone who deserves a ban. It doesn't matter. Let's say you're a sexist, racist piece of shit in game, you're getting fucking banned by Hideouts. If you go aimbot for 2 games, you're getting banned by Hideouts. It doesn't matter. You're getting taken out by Hideouts.
Does everything he can, but he's one man. He's one person.
Hideouts is the fucking GOAT. Let's put that in stone. Hideouts is the GOAT, but that is one person to take out the entire world. He lives in North America. It's hard to be awake for every region, handle every cheater, the whole 9 yards. So we've gone through 2 years of Apex with an insane cheating problem. We've only gone through it 1 year with Hideouts who can barely take out our region, let alone the other regions who are, I'm pretty sure, both bigger than NA, player base wise. So it's a really shitty situation, guys, where playing ranked is kind of a battle of are you going to run into a cheater this game or are you going to get DDoS? It's kind of a one or the other, and it's a very strange world when you don't get one or the other. Now the other thing, the DDoSers, right? So right now, Apex recently came out with crossplay. Let's set this in stone. Another thing, just fact. There was zero. When I say zero, I mean nada. I have over 7,000 hours in Apex. I played the game professionally. I stream 250 hours a month for so goddamn long. Trust me, if it was happening, I would have known it. There was literally zero DDoSing incidents before crossplay came. So it does have to do with having a console and being in the lobby, whatever, who cares? Long story short, crossplay comes to Apex, and now we have an insane DDoSing problem on top of the cheater problem. Now lobbies are just getting DDoSed left and right. It's like every other game you're getting DDoSed. It's exploitable because in Apex, you need KP, kill points, right? You get kill points, and it's modified by your placement, right? So if you win with max KP, you get a lot more points. So what's happening is these DDoSers are loading up into the game. They're DDoSing the lobby before the lobby even starts or as the lobby's starting so that everyone comes out of the jump ship, battle bus, whatever you want to call it, and they all drop in the same spot. They're pretty much insta-killing 99% of the lobby, and wow. The games only last 3-5 minutes. They get max KP, they go again, and they're just boosting these people's super speed. And it's just this crazy sad world where one game you're running into fucking flying cheaters, the next game you can't even play, you're just getting kicked out of the match, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah. So TFG, mind if I respond to that?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, so first things first. Zach, you're way too young to even know that this is a thing. TFG, you might also be too young. I don't know how old you are.
Oh boy, here we go.
But it could be worse. All right, back in we're talking Halo 2 and SOCOM. All you had to do was unplug your Ethernet cable from your switch for 5 seconds. You could DDoS anyone. Basically, you could lag switch anyone you want and do the same exact thing. So it could be worse, you young children. No, I'm just kidding. Jokes aside, it's a problem. Completely agreed, it's a problem. And there's a lot to unpack there. So a couple things. One, on the cheater side. People don't realize, and let me kind of explain the behind the scenes of how it works, right? Everyone kind of looks at hideouts as the one guy who's kind of helped in saving us, but he's only one person. But people don't realize the extent of how in-depth of an industry the hacking industry is. I mean, literally, you can go on the dark web right now, and you can get malware or bots that will or ransomware or whatever. You could buy it almost like an Amazon marketplace. You could leave like a 5-star review. It's $15 to get it. I mean, it is so easy, and it's become a full-blown industry on the dark web to get any type of attacks that you want, security attacks. And that's, of course, including one of the biggest industries for it is gaming because of video game cheats that everyone has. So hacks and cheating nowadays is so much worse than anyone realizes it is. And everyone kind of blames EA and blames Respawn and says, you guys should fix this. But the extent in which they are faced with very sophisticated organizations who are spending thousands and thousands to millions of dollars to develop hacks for games because they're making millions and millions to hundreds of millions of dollars to do so is deeper than anyone even realizes. So I want to kind of explain that. It's not as simple as everyone realizes. Just hire more people like hideouts, because it's way deeper than that. I mean, for example, EA recently, I don't know if you saw in the news, but EA recently had a really bad data breach. They got hacked. A really bad data breach, and source code from FIFA was stolen. When by like a legitimate, like either Russia or some hacking group somewhere. When that happens, people can take that source code, and that's how they can actually alter the game to, like you said, to increase the fire rate and to do. So when that happens, that's when you see cheats that come in because people have source code, they have access to things, and that's way deeper than just Respawn. That's EA making sure they have the right security in place, and there's so much that goes into it people don't realize. So I guess I'm not saying it's acceptable. Keep complaining, keep being vocal, because yes, we need to work on it. I think Riot Games and Valorant is a prime example of doing a great job to everything that they possibly can to fight against hackers, because they have Vanguard, and yes, it's a little intrusive. It's installed in your PC, but at the end of the day, that's worth it. I agree, it's worth it. Yeah. So I'll pause there before we go into the DDoS side. But like people, what I'm saying is cut EA and Respawn some slack, because it's a hard problem. Even Valorant, with how much that they've done, they still have issues with hackers and cheaters, right? So I don't know if you guys have any thoughts.
I mean, in just another game too, Fortnite, there was a cheater who won a cash cup like 2 days ago. Oh my God. I made a video on it on my Fortnite guy channel. He literally won the cash cup with 57 kills in one game. It's like, how does he go through the whole entire tournament without getting banned? It's a huge problem in gaming. You're absolutely right. I mean, every game suffers with it. They do.
And Easy Anti-Cheat, by the way, is a company that was acquired by Epic. So Epic owns Easy Anti-Cheat now, and it's the same thing. I think it's just hackers are getting sophisticated. They're getting better and better at beating and getting past things like Easy Anti-Cheat.
Well, that's the thing is, well, these companies are putting in thousands and millions of dollars, right? We need more people like hideouts, and they're looking into hiring more versions of hideouts, more in Asian region hideouts and EU region hideouts, maybe even 2 for each region. Who knows how bad the problem really is once we get some more people on the lineup taking care of these guys. But I think something that's really important that we haven't touched on is getting in these meetings with like the executives of EA, or getting in the meetings with the executives of Respawn, and having a legitimate conversation with them about turning off crossplay until they can figure out the DDoSing situation, so that because keep in mind, the people that watch this video, the Redditors, they're going to hate me for saying this, but keep in mind, while console is the dominant region of Apex, like the vast majority of player base of Apex is on console. Yeah. However, console is a crazy unimportant aspect of Apex because of everything is on PC. The competitive side, the content creator side, every single one of your favorite streamers you watch, not one of them is an Xbox 360 streamer. I'm sure there's a couple. I'm just being straightforward. Sure, there's a couple.
You're right. Not one person in the world is an Xbox 360 streamer. You're right about that. Yep.
Okay, well, you get my point. I don't fucking know these consoles, man. Fuck you. You got me. Shit. But you get my point. So I really think we need to have these meetings on like why they can't turn off crossplay, or why they can and they haven't yet. Or is there a program that they can give hideouts, or they can put into the game where it's like, oh, this game ended in less than 5 minutes. Who are the champions? Or like an intrusive software that sees like when everyone's kicked from a match, right? Because when you get kicked from the match, it's like everyone disconnects except for that team, that squad. and they would have like some red flag warning where it's like, oh, 50 some odd players got kicked, but these are the remaining 10 players in the lobby, and you know one of those 10 are DDoSing lobbies, and then at that point you just got to find who's the team with the console players.
Yeah.
And obviously, as there's more than one, there's probably, but like I'd really like to have those meetings with the smarter people, the people that actually know what's going on why we can't handle the DDoSing situation by just simply turning off crossplay temporarily. Like, is that really going to bother more casuals than increase the entirety of the ranked environment from bronze to Predator? Because it's not like it's just affecting Hal, right? It's not like it's just affecting Timmy when they're doing these. It's happening in bronze all the way to Predator. So like, it's a big problem for everyone.
Yeah.
I'm sure they have, and like you said, defending hideouts earlier, Respawn 99% of the time has good reasons on why they do shit. So I'm sure there is a good reason, or they're about to do something. One of the two. It was I would really like to get something public, or we know, or they know, like, you know what I mean? Like, I would love to know.
You just hit the nail on the head right there. Like, that's the biggest piece, transparency. Because I'll tell you right now, there's a great the people at Respawn. I know a lot of them, and a lot of them are old friends when I worked at Xbox Game Studios and the Coalition. A lot of those guys now work at Respawn. They're phenomenal, and I guarantee there's a great reason as to why. And it takes time for these things to get in the pipeline. There's literally a list of thousands of bugs or issues or problems that they have to fix. It's about prioritizing. I agree. These security issues should be at the top of that list, and I guarantee they're working on it. It obviously takes a little bit of time, but transparency is the most important thing. Communicating and being transparent about where you're at.
Coming from Fortnite and being here for a month and a half, the communication is unreal from EA. Like, it's next level. Epic is terrible, so it's awesome being here.
I can DM like Shaheen or Ghost literally like any point in the day, and they're either gonna DM me back with a direct answer or be like, I can't tell you that NDA, and like they just can't tell me, or they can and they communicate, and it's a wonderful environment where you're constantly getting feedback. Sometimes it's not what you want to hear. Like, if I am just legally not allowed to know something, then that's just that's period, and that's end of story. But at least there's something going on, like I can DM the ALGS admin fucking 2 a.m. or 9 a.m. and I'm like getting an instant answer from him. He's awesome. And I get to, like, it's a really great environment. It's just we have big problems that dramatically make the quality of life for everyone in the game a lot worse.
Yeah. I get you. And just huge shout out to Shaheen and their team over there, though. They've really done an amazing job. So I'm sure at least maybe one of them's watching. We hope. Shout out to you guys. But I think this is good now. Let's move on a little bit. I know we talked about the future of Apex earlier. Let's touch on it for a quick second here, and then we can wrap it up with some community questions. So what do you guys think about the future of EA?
Yeah, I guess
Apex esports and stuff, right? Yeah.
Apex, yep. I'll start. We can talk about, from an esports lens, Apex all up. I think first things first. Go for it. First things first, my man Zach in the middle of the pie, he's just out of here. He's like, I'm out. This is where the editor could just do a solo on me and just pretend like Zach. I thought he had to go to his kitchen or something. So first things first, 20,000 foot view, Apex as a whole. I think it's been awesome to see. We hinted it earlier, but how much Apex has grown over the last 8 months. I mean, every one of our streamers significantly growing numbers on an upward spiral, and then some. Hal was kind of the first one that started seeing massive numbers, and now we have people like Sweet and Zach, and of course there's Touche and Timmy and everyone else that it just continues to grow, which is great. So I think it's really important that as long as our general content creator community continues to grow, then I think competitive Apex and Apex as a whole will grow. I think it's also great that in Apex, our content creators and entertainers are also our pro players for the most part. There's a little bit of cutoff there, but a lot of the top streamers are also the top players in the game, which I think is amazing as well. So the growth has been great. I think we'll continue to see that if the streamers keep doing the right things and having the right mentality, the right attitude, grinding, to be honest. Because honestly, people like you, Zach, like, kudos to you guys. You're the reason that Apex is growing, because of all the time that you put into content creation, bringing new fans and new players into Apex. I don't think you guys realize how much responsibility you have to be positive leaders of this community, but I think it's really important that our leaders, pro players, continue to set the right example to help this thing grow. Be inclusive, be welcoming, be positive. I know there's issues and there's a lot of frustrating sides of it, but we'll grow only more and more, which means we all get to eat and we all get to continue to do what we love. If you guys continue to be positive and help the scene grow, I think you have a huge responsibility there.
Yeah, when I think future Apex, I got the blinders on, man. I'm only thinking of competitive. It's so hard for me to think outside the box, but I mean, it just seems really bright, honestly. I remember talking to a lot of my friends, other pro players over the past 6 months, and we were like, hey, like, Apex is going to die in the next 6 months, 6 months to a year. Apex is going to die, or it's going to just fucking pop off. It's going to have a very nice life, or it's going to die very soon. Because at the time, they just weren't doing anything for the game. The prize pools were so weak that even if you were winning, you still had a job. There was a point in time in Apex where you could literally go win every single tournament there was to offer, like all the OTs, everything, and I would have made less than I was making at my local delivery pizza job. Like I was making like 3,800 a month, well, delivering pizza before I started playing video games. This is like 2019 or some shit, right? And I won an OT, which is $2,000 pre-tax, right? Keep in mind you lose like 40% of that. And then that was the only tournament for that month. And then I can play like the $500 GLOs, but let's say I won all the $500 GLOs, everything, like I'm barely gonna hit the 4K mark if I'm lucky. And that's if I won every single one. So there were some big problems, and we've completely pushed through that. I think it's safe to say that they have answered the call and they're ready to pour some more money into it. COVID's chilling out, vaccines are more common, and hopefully lands come back sometime relatively soon. When I say that, I'm hoping for like within a year from today, we can get an announcement of one at the very least. And this money starts to come in and you start to see these orgs invest and the players get happier and the whole 9 yards. I really do think Apex has a bright future. I think the way that they set up their competitive calendar and how they run it with a similar to like a major minor system with a big championship, I think it's a wonderful system. I think it'll take the game really far if they can pour in the money and the right resources into it. I think it could be something way more massive than anyone's expecting. It's kind of, in my opinion, in their hands to take that route, and then in our hands to take advantage of that route and really put it out there. And God, it sucks to say this because my friends are going to flame me for it, but part of me believes they'll do it. Part of me believes they're going to pull it off. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited.
Yeah, there's definitely a bright future for Apex on the horizon. There's things that some people can't say, but it's exciting. It's exciting. I'll say that at the very least.
Oh,
let's go ahead.
You know, he's got some scoop.
But see, that's what pisses me off.
I'm not a world champ or anything, am I?
It's like, dude, he just like brand new teams, brand new content creators. Probably his NDA is probably like freshly signed, like within 2 months, relatively, right? He can't get anything. But like here I am, like I've been under like 30 million different NDAs with them. Like I'm on cloud 9, like the whole 9 yards, and I'm not getting fed anything. Like I ain't shit, but like I want to know, bro.
Hey, you got second place. You're a big deal now. Maybe they'll start telling you.
Every single player knows. That's just the reality. I've been a part of that for way too many communities, and I don't blame Shaheen and team. Obviously, they got to bring orgs in. To bring orgs in, you got to tell them. You got to
100%
the roadmap.
So you can't trust a lot of players out there.
Wait, pause. We take a step back. You would think they told Cloud9. Maybe they told Cloud9. I just got to go ask my people. Shit, maybe it's my bad, bro.
Maybe
oh my God.
I like that. Listen, my lacrosse coach in college used to always say, don't be a finger guy, be a thumb guy. All right? Don't point the finger at other people.
Like
realize
what am I doing wrong?
Yeah, exactly. What am I doing wrong? Maybe you can go find out. Go hit up the Cloud9 boys. But I don't know what's coming. However, so just to kind of piggyback off of Zach's point, Zach, you brought some great points up. I think a couple of things. I would love to see the opportunity for pro players to have longevity in this game and to have a financial wherewithal that gives them the ability to play this game, because like you said, the structure wasn't there for players to do that, and ways that you can do that, there's a couple things. One, like a stipend or a salary that players can get. Obviously you guys get salaries from your orgs, and we're getting more orgs in, that helps. But if EA can somehow fund players as well, and I think the crowdfunded or the boosted, I guess they didn't call it crowdfunded, prize pool for the championship was a great start.
Yeah.
But what if we could have team skins in game that then can go back to the players, and that becomes the salary for the players? I think things like in-game team skins undoubtedly should happen. I mean, I come from Gears Esports. Gears Esports is tiny relative to Apex, has a ridiculous in-game team skin system. There's monetary proceeds that go back to the teams, which feed the players, which feed the organizations, bring more orgs in the ecosystem. I would love to see something like that happen. And then also, like, what if we could have a league? Like, I don't know if there's a league structure, and if you're in the league, you get set kind of like we saw in League of Legends. I know it's difficult to BR, but it also breaks my heart that a top team like Complexity, consistent throughout the entire ALGS, didn't show up in groups. And like we said, they could have shown up in the finals if they qualified. Didn't even qualify for the finals. Didn't even have a chance to play for that ridiculous prize pool. That breaks my heart. I'd love to see some way that the consistent teams get to stay consistent and get to continue to play. Because having to qualify every single tournament for another online tournament is just just way too much.
I hate that too, but at the same time, I kind of like it because those are those moments where it's like it does reward those consistent teams. Now weird shit can happen where like you get dropped on, you lose your drop spot, you're fighting off every game, like someone is deliberately making you try to knock wall, and that's not fun. It happened to me in the qual rounds. Like we had a CLT land on us in West Fragment through all of the last 8 trying to make us knock wall. We pulled it off. Like fuck you, by the way, if you're watching. So like. You know what I mean? Like, shit can happen, but I kind of do like the idea of the qual rounds because it does spice it up. Like, who's not going to qual? Like, complexity not being in the tournament opened up 3 POIs because complexity takes survey, refinery, and epi.
So the 3 teams got to eat. It was insane. Alpine, it's crazy.
Yeah, a whole different world. So, I definitely want to see some like free quals slide in there. I definitely think there's some things to change.
But you do agree with like in-game, team skins, player skins.
I don't even know if that's like needed to like comment on because I feel like there's no way it doesn't happen, right? Like I feel like we are just way too far into the esports of Apex. Like, and they would agree with us if they were here in this call. They're like, it'd be one of those moments where you're talking to John or whoever the guy might be, and you're like, "Yo, team skins," and he's like, "Yeah, we know." You know what I mean? Where it's like they know they gotta get to it, or they're doing it right now, type deal. But there's just no way it doesn't come because I don't know what they're paying these orgs or stipend or anything like that, if they are at all, right? But the Apex scene just until now doesn't have the money for these tier 1 orgs to just be thriving in it unless you have streamers. That is the key. Like having the pro players that stream and have the numbers to make your competitive roster valuable, right? So. That's coming around. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. I'm excited. I think there's no way they don't do it. And another big thing that we didn't say that you could have said there and snuck in was content creator codes. I think that's a huge thing for the game. People like Lulu with these massive communities who don't compete. Touche doesn't compete, massive community. I think that'd be unexplainably massive for the growth of the game and for the individuals to like take advantage of their fan base, wanting to support them. And I think that'd be really good for the game to throw in there with the team skins as well.
I agree.
Or like let's say you buy the Wraith skin, that shit goes to Hal. Let's say you buy the Jibby skin, that shit goes to Reps. Like stuff like that, right? I think there's definitely a bunch of things they could do with that to make it awesome, and I think they will. I got a little bit of faith.
Exactly. I have 100% faith as well. I think the good news is Apex has proven, Apex esports has proven, ALGS championships had remarkable numbers. So I think we just literally with the success of ALGS champs and with how much again you streamers have helped the game grow, we just stamped at least hopefully another 2 years, 3 years. I hope it continues to grow and a couple more seasons for it to happen for sure.
Yeah. I mean, we could go on and keep talking, but that's why this is a podcast, right? There's going to be an episode 2.
Yeah.
We got so much to talk about. Let's wrap it up real quick here with just a couple of questions for the community. So I got one right here, and this one's for you. This is from Apex Tractor. Sorry, this is for you, Fallout. How does casting Apex compare to other games that you've experienced?
Dude, gosh, I love that question. By the way, there's some awesome questions that came in, but I love that question because truthfully, no joke, casting Apex, I literally have to consume at least 7 cups of coffee before every game of casting Apex because it's absolutely insane. There's so much happening on screen at one time. It is unlike any game I've casted. And yes, I've casted late games in Fortnite, which are also crazy and kind of help prepare me for this moment. But the fact that Apex has team compositions, ultimates, abilities, so much happening at once in the late game circle, it is just ridiculous how much your brain has to like literally I'm thinking 3 steps ahead of what I'm actually saying, and it's unlike any other game. So that part's obviously kind of crazy. And then the second piece, just the ebbs and flows of a BR. Early game obviously is a little bit slow. So there's a lot of storytelling that we have to do in Apex, which takes a lot of research to like prep and understand players' backgrounds, their history, because you have to build the right storytelling early on in games when there's not really a whole lot of fights happening on rotations. So it gives you opportunities to storytell, which I really really like. Those are probably the 2 big differences.
Nice. The next question coming in. This is from Alistair. It's probably a good one for you too as well. It's how has the enjoyability of watching NA versus EU changed from the ALGS and online events to like winter circuit to now?
That's a cool one. Zach, I'd like to hear your take on the whole NA EU piece too. I'll start off.
You go.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like NA and EU almost flopped in terms of gameplay and style. Like EU used to be really slow, very rotation heavy. Kind of boring early to mid game, to watch, to be honest. Every team just was all in on early rotate, high placement meta, and Nasky, Strafey, and Dell kind of made that the way to play. Whereas in NA for a while we had Bloodhound, we had a lot more aggressive team comps, And now all of a sudden, EU was just insane to watch. Like, I don't, obviously the meta
Rev
evolved a little
comps
bit.
and shit. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
it's just,
Rev
it's
comps,
definitely flopped.
Yeah. So that was really cool to see how that evolved and kind of for a little while it flipped. Like there were a couple of NA games where yes, teams are still playing aggressive, but we had a couple really, really slow games early on. But now it's almost honestly both regions are just as fun to watch. The one thing I'll say about EU though is the amount of comp that there is in EU, the amount of competition is great to cast and to watch. In NA, it's very top heavy. You have your top like 5 really, really good Titan teams that you know are always going to perform. In EU, it's like any team, any moment can pop off, and that makes it really exciting for me. Zach, anything you'd add or any thoughts on that?
I think it's more fun. I think it's more fun to root for NA. I think it's more fun to watch EU. I think it's more fun to root for NA because it's top heavy and you're majority of the time going to be right, and rooting for someone and seeing them succeed is way more fun than just watching something and being like, oh, that team could win, that team could win, right? But watching EU is a much more balanced environment where every team is like good and they can all take it home. Whereas in NA, there's only like, I mean, to be frank, like in NA, like if you're playing a qual round or a championship and any teams outside of like 8 teams actually win the game, you're like, oh, what the fuck? That team won? Like it's like it like leaves a stench. It's like, how? What did we do? Who was in that end game? Like how? What? Because it's like it's just so top heavy on the talent and the skill level. And a big difference of that is actually the practice. Something we didn't talk about. I won't talk about it for too long. EU has a lot more practice where it's like taken seriously, where NA is a very, as of right now, just lazy environment where a lot of teams, when they do practice, they don't take it seriously, and as is a lot of them just don't practice, period. So those bottom tier teams aren't getting any better, and the top tier teams are just staying as Titans and slowly getting better just by doing the right thing of playing ranked and other things together.
So it sounds like you're saying maybe EU's better than NA. I'm gonna put you both on the spot. Pick one real quick. Which region's better?
No, I think NA is better than EU because of the Titan versus the good. So if you had, I don't think anyone would disagree with this. I actually think if we brought on some, EU people, they'd probably be surprised. I think that the Titans, like the NRG, the TSM of NA, will probably be the best teams in the world, if not guaranteed top 5. Whereas I don't think you can look at EU and, I mean, Gambit's really good, Nessie's really good. Like they have some amazing teams over there. Don't get me wrong. Their average team is 10 times better than the average NA team. I just don't see their Titans being better than our Titans.
Yeah. Honestly, Zach put it brilliantly. And this is not a cop-out answer, I promise, but Zach put it brilliantly. I think NA is more entertaining pound for pound, and you have more to root for in NA, so it's fun to watch. EU just feels like the best version of competitive Apex, and that's not without disrespect to NA. Yes. But EU really, really pushes the boundaries of meta and yeah. So I do think if you are just like in terms of purity of Apex, if you're a pure Apex competitive fan and you want the best of the best of Apex, go watch EU. But if you're like you like to watch something fun, kind of like watching the NHL or the NFL, go watch NA. I think is the way to look at it.
Okay. Cool. Well, I think that's good for questions. This first episode was incredible, man. Like, you guys were amazing. I love all of the insight you guys gave us, and I'm sure the audience is going to enjoy it. I want to say one last thank you to you, Fallout, for coming on. If you have any final things you want to say, shout out, whatever, feel free, man. This time is yours.
Yeah, I appreciate that, brother. Yeah, honestly, dude, just shout out to you guys for putting this on. We need more content like this, and I think I said everything throughout the podcast. Like, cheers to the growth of Apex Legends. Let's all work together. It's one thing I've loved about Apex since the beginning is it really does. I say Apex fam all the time. It feels like a family, and everyone is so kind of close knit. And let's all work together to grow this thing every single day. And one day I really do believe Apex Legends will be the biggest FPS esport, which sounds insane. We got a lot of work to do to beat Valorant, to beat.
I'll back that up.
Hey,
honestly,
let's go.
Yeah,
I'm with it.
That way. So let's run this thing.
Zach, any final thoughts for you, man? I appreciate you coming on as a co-host. I think this is going to be a great show we're doing here.
I'm just excited for the future. I think this podcast, whatever you want to call it, this little like get together shit, just talk, shoot the shit, have fun. I think this has a lot of potential in the Apex scene. No one has done it yet, and I think this like mix of people where we're hitting casters, commentators, pro players, doesn't matter, like you name it, coaches, whatever it may be, industry people. I think we're going to see a bunch of different perspectives on different things. I think in Apex, there's just so many things to talk about, similar to League of Legends, where there's just so much going on. So I see this having a lot of success, and just that I really hope people keep tuning in because like these hour-long episodes, these 3-hour-long episodes, the 20-minute episodes you're always just gonna have something that you didn't know that you find out and you just throw it on in the background. I think it's gonna be awesome. And to the people watching, thank you guys.
Hell yeah. Thank you so much, everybody watching. We made this for you guys. If you're watching at this point throughout the whole thing, and that's why we made it. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in to Apex Uncut. We'll be back next week with a new guest. I'm out of here, guys. Peace.
Peace.